So keep that in mind.
Yeah, hey, forget I asked. That'll definitely do.
Ew. Join the Discord.
It was the least fun I've ever had playing this game.
A small but vibrant and extremely humble community.
No, I've seen the sleeves, but I'm like, you said you're suiting up and then you put your sleeve on. Thank you for saying that.
Because I'm a demon on the keys.
Next thing I know, we're both dead. I immediately left the lobby.
In Vietnam.
What are they playing for? Are they playing to win?
Stay humble.
Stay humble.
We are live in the afternoon, this glorious, frigid, nippy afternoon, Southern California afternoon. And you don't get to say that often, do you? Welcome to the Dropshot, a Call of Duty podcast, episode. I almost said bonus episode because I'm so not used to doing normal episodes at this time that I literally almost just said bonus episode, but I didn't. I figured it out.
No.
Because I have a giant galaxy brain like the meta
like the gunsmith gurus
at Activision.
the
Yeah,
gunsmith gurus, man.
God, and they should. Well, welcome to the show. Today we are doing an episode about Call of Duty,
yeah.
and it is going to be both fun and exciting. So before we get into that, a couple of announcements. So number one, for the month of January, I don't know if we said this on a regular episode. Maybe we have.
I think we did on Wednesday.
We're going to be like changing up the schedule a lot. Did I say this?
Yeah.
I don't know if I did. It doesn't matter. I'll remind you guys. The month of January, if you like to watch live or if you want to watch live for the first time, this will be a good month to do it because we're going to be experimenting with a lot of different podcast start times. Because for February, we hope to lock down a new streaming schedule. And the goal essentially is to start streaming earlier for the podcast. We've been starting since the podcast began, actually. It's like one thing that hasn't changed yet is the time. And the day, for that matter.
Yeah.
Wednesday and Saturday. We started with just Saturdays, and then we went to Wednesday, Saturdays after like a dozen episodes at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Because we had jobs. I worked a 9 to 5, and I wanted time to eat dinner and relax and do some notes. And then we've just never changed it since then. But now that you guys have visited patreon.com/thedropshot, not enough of you have, but some of you have, and we've gone full-time podcaster cringe, then we haven't really thought about changing the schedule, but we kind of want to, because especially like in daylight savings. By the way, let's stop with daylight savings. It's fucking stupid. Set your clock back and then set it forward again, 3 months later or whatever. Stop. Just don't change it. I know there are some states where there's no daylight savings, and I salute those states. I salute them.
I believe Arizona's one of those, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a useless dog shit thing to do. And I hate it. But we do it here anyway. So when it is pitch black outside at 7 p.m. Pacific time and it's been dark out for 3 hours, not really, for like 90 minutes though, it feels real late. And it's after dinner, we're tired. We've eaten too much bread, too much gluten. That's a joke. And we would have rather have done it earlier. So anyway, all that is to say, month of January, we're going to be experimenting with a lot of different times. We don't know what those times are yet, but we will tell you guys on the Monday of every week, and we will post that schedule. So I don't know. Many of you maybe don't know this. Twitter. We have a Twitter at the Dropshot Pod. Every week, the pinned tweet is an image of our schedule for that week with dates and times, obviously. So follow that. And if you wanted to maybe watch live, like if you're normally not available Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time and you wanted to be like watching live, follow the Twitter, see the schedule. We post the schedule in Discord as well, announcements. You can find links to both of those in the description of the show notes. And then, take a look, and then one of these days you'll be able to hop in. So like right now it's Saturday, 12 p.m. and we're live. So anyway, that is that.
12:26.
Yeah, whatever. Other than that, no other real announcements, I don't think. Tanner, anything from you?
Definitely keep an eye on the Discord and the Twitter, especially for next week, because the schedule next week will be real wonky with Caldera coming out. Because Monday that event starts, like the final hours of Verdansk, I believe it's called. So there will be a lot of things switched up next week. We may be streaming gameplay Monday or Tuesday for that. I don't know. We'll definitely be streaming Wednesday morning when Caldera launches. So for people who want Vanguard, it comes out Wednesday the 8th at 9 a.m. Pacific. We will 100% be streaming that. So if you're stuck at work or something and can't play it, come by, watch us experiment with it for the first time. We're going to land at Resort and get a drink at the bar before we start exploring the map for sure. But yeah, so next week will be weird. Also, Wednesday pod won't be Wednesday next week. It'll be probably Thursday, but we'll let you guys know on Monday with the schedule. So keep an eye on that next week for sure.
Yeah, just follow the Twitter and, join the fucking Discord. And you guys will stay abreast of all the situations. But anyways, other than that, I think that is about it for announcements. So if you're listening for the jingle, here it is.
Oh. There we go. There it is. There's that thing. There's that thing. I wasn't ready for it, dude. I'm used to another 25 minutes of announcements. I was still asleep, man. Just warming up.
Still just sleeping. Huh?
Your voice doesn't sound like complete and utter shit. That's good.
I'm not hungover. That's why.
Got it.
I'm telling you, I just had dog shit sleep.
Got it.
I might need to piss, shit, and fart. So, we'll figure it out. All right, welcome to the show. Today, we are doing a farewell to Verdansk. Tanner's
that's a fake
pissing,
cry.
shitting, farting, crying, vomiting, sniffling, and sneezing all over himself. Because he's very emotional about things like this.
Emotional, dude.
And that makes sense. A lot of people maybe are. If you are experiencing any emotions really at all from Verdansk going away, the map, unless you are like a world champion and have won thousands of dollars in tournaments on this map, then see a therapist, because it's a video game map and it's a map, and we'll get into it. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of do a signing off of Verdansk. We're going to talk about what we liked about it, what we did not like about it, kind of our overall impressions, and this will be our bon voyage, as they say in Paris, in France.
Stop.
S'il vous plaît.
Should we pour one out for Verdansk at the end of this ep?
Je m'appelle
Pour one out for the homies?
Razinon, dude. Yeah, I don't speak
Move
French.
on.
I'm a polyglot, but French has eluded me. Anyways, this doesn't. And I'll edit that out. So we're gonna talk about Verdansk today, because I think this will be the last. Yeah, this will be the last podcast. Before Caldera.
Yeah, our next podcast episode, we will not be on Verdansk ever again. So they say.
Yeah. So to remind everyone, we are going to be staying on task. And what I mean by that is this is not a Warzone review. It's not like a Warzone from the beginning until now review, because by all accounts, Warzone itself is not going to change very much as a game mode.
You don't know that.
When the new map comes out. So it doesn't appear that we're going to be switching apps or clients. It doesn't appear that we're going to be getting a giant perk overhaul. It doesn't appear we're going to be running on the Vanguard engine like they said or something. I don't really know, but it feels more like we're just getting a new map, and we're also getting an integration with new guns. So this is not going to be us reviewing Warzone, what we liked and didn't like. It's going to be specific to the map Verdansk. So I need you guys listening to keep that in mind. There are plenty of other things we could say about what we like and don't like, or have liked and have not liked in Warzone as a game mode up until now. But that is not the topic today. The topic is on the map, Verdansk.
Yeah.
That is what we're going to be discussing.
The map.
So.
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
like everything, there's going to be more negatives than positives here. Hey, it's easier to talk about the negatives. It's hard to say, I like the map. Like it's easier to put specifics on the negatives. So yeah, I thought Verdansk was fine mostly. We'll get into it, but you're going to hear more negatives than positives. That doesn't mean it's the worst map ever to come to a video game. So keep that in mind.
That is true, and we have had to remind you guys before that it is easier to find flaws and it's easier to criticize something than to praise it because you expect many things to be a given. If I get a toothbrush and it has bristles, I'm not going to say I really like that this toothbrush has bristles.
True.
Because of course it does. It's a fucking toothbrush. I'm not going to say that's a pro. It is a pro. I'm glad that it has bristles because that's kind of a prerequisite for brushing my dumb teeth. But I'm not going to list it as a pro. I would say maybe, I like the what's the stiffness of the bristles.
Yeah,
maybe.
I like the stiffness of the bristles when they hit my dumb little teeth. Like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Or like, I like the shape of the handle, or I like the little fucking plastic
What have
knob.
been doing with that handle?
Rubber knob, shove it up my ass. Rubber knob thing. That feels good. But the fact that it has a handle isn't a pro. So, anyways, yeah, it's going to be easier to say things that we did not like versus what we liked. However, also, well, we'll get into it. So, anyway, okay. So, and then these are in no particular order. So, we're going to start with what we liked. And these, again, are things that we liked beyond what is given. You can drop into the map sometimes. Cool. Yeah. But no shit.
Yeah,
so,
you can.
okay.
Yeah, you can drop and land somewhere on the map typically
Yeah.
in the video game if you don't crash before that. Yeah.
If you don't crash, yeah. So to start, some of the locations were actually really fun and good to play at. A lot of them were.
Yeah. There are more good locations than bad. More good POIs, I would say, than bad for sure.
Yeah. I think so. Maybe. Let me see. That's a toughie, huh?
My three favorite were Prison,
Downtown.
Summit, and Port.
Yeah, okay. So downtown, farmland, prison, storage, kind of dog shit.
You don't like farmland?
No. There's nothing there. It's not bad.
We landed at farmland the first 6 months Warzone was out. That was the only place
did.
you ever wanted to land. You wanted to go lumber or farmland because you're a pussy.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I like farmland. It's just that it's too out of the way and there isn't enough loot. So I don't really like going there anymore.
We outgrew farmland. Got too good for it. It's
a good little spot though, but whatever. But yeah, like a lot of the POIs anyway were Promenade's dog shit. Promenade East and West.
Oh, we'll get into that. Don't worry.
I would say maybe 60% of the POIs were like good and fun. A couple notable examples. Boneyard. Great drop spot. Tanner's written here, and it hasn't really changed much since Verdansk came out. True. Good point. And it's always been solid, so don't change it. Thanks. And they didn't. This is what I always implore Activision to do. Please stop changing things that don't need to be changed. Change the things that do need to be changed instead. And this is a rare example of something that didn't need to be changed that also wasn't changed. Boneyard. Pretty static the whole fucking 2 years we've had Verdansk. And great spot. What were your thoughts on Boneyard? Because you've written some interesting reasons why it's a good spot.
It's just, I feel like one thing is it's kind of spread out enough, and there's enough like planes and shit there where you're not just immediately getting beam from everyone. There's like 5 total buildings there, basically. Like the south side of Boneyard, no one goes there. So there's like a couple of buildings there. Doesn't matter. People don't loot that. They don't go there unless there's a buy station there. Every once in a while people will. But usually it's like people land at the 2 buildings, maybe the 3 buildings on the north side where the buy station is. There will be like 2 teams land there. You kill the other team. You loot around that area. You don't even have to venture far. You have $10,000 for an easy loadout drop. I think another good thing about prom is you can get a quick loadout, and then you have access to, you know, some other big areas. Like you can get to Superstore quickly. There is a helicopter spawn at Boneyard, so you can get around the map quickly there. So I don't know. It's just always treated me well. It's a great location. Yeah, pretty much from what I remember, I don't know if anything's ever really changed. I don't know, chat, if you guys can think of anything that changed at Boneyard. I can't. It seems like it's just always been the same. So I'm a big fan of it. One of the best locations on the map, in my opinion.
So yeah, Boneyard was and still is a good drop spot. I
we dropped like 4 times yesterday.
Yeah, and it just hasn't changed. It's been pretty fucking static, but it's great. And yeah, part of the reason is the buildings. There aren't any skyscrapers. There are a couple of buildings. There's a lot of cover, but a lot of the cover is not buildings, in fact. That's why it's so fun to fight there, because everything's pretty even. Even if you are... So there's kind of like, what's the map? Scrapyard. There's like the scrapyard area of Boneyard, which is kind of... I mean, some people think that's kind of a lot of Boneyard, but like even to the... What would that be? The west of that. You start going toward like the... that big wall that runs all the way out, down. You're in the graveyard of trains. Or planes. Jesus. That place is really fun to fight at. Because there's a lot of cover, but it's not buildings. And you can't really get too much height. You can get on top of some of the planes, but then you're like on the roof and you're still pretty low to the ground. And those gunfights that take place around there are really fun because they're very fair and even. It's very hard to get a significant advantage positionally in Boneyard because there aren't buildings. Yeah, like you have to outplay people, and that's part of the reason I really like that area. Superstore, Tanner really likes. Tell us more about Superstore, Tanner.
Superstore, always been a solid hot drop location. So Superstore has changed throughout Verdansk's life cycle, but it still remained a pretty good location. So it's always kind of been known as like the hot drop location for the sweats, and it still is to a certain extent, not as much as it used to be. I mean, Super back in the day was like you'd have 30 people dropping there. It was insane. So now it's more like there's between 1 and 3, maybe 4 teams at the most landing there if you're playing quads or something. But Super is a fun one because you're always going up against other good players. Like, lower skilled players are typically going to be too scared to land there. I didn't like landing there for a long time, actually, because it was, when all the big streamers are doing it, Nick Merckx, all of them landed Super every single game. That's where all the sweats were going. So I just tried to stay away from it. But there's a lot of loot in a small area, a lot of guns, a lot of money, always a ton of contracts inside of it. There's usually a buy right out front of the parking lot. If not, there's typically one to the west at like the little gas station or restaurant. So the thing about Super too is if you win that battle coming out of it, you pretty much probably just killed the few best teams in the lobby, because that's everyone who goes there. So there's very intense battles there, a lot of fun. I feel like Super actually used to be better than how its current layout is, honestly. But still, it stayed as like that meta drop spot, and I've always liked it. It's been a pretty good location.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no strong feelings on Superstore. It's fun. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So next is the array. So when the array came out, what you've written here is interesting. When the array came out, I was pretty scared. I was pissing and shitting and farting in my pants because I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so trash. People are going to camp up there. And it's so high, like it's such a good spot. It's going to be impossible to take. It's actually so high up that it's not even good to snipe from. It's too high.
Yeah, it is.
It's too high, and you're not going to get like kills from up there. I've never been sniped. No, I think one time I've gotten sniped from the top of array since it came out. So it's not a problem Compare that to top of Nakatomi or top of Hospital, for example. It's not even remotely a problem. So it's so tall, it's actually not that big of a deal.
True.
I don't really give a shit about the array itself. Before they added the array, I liked that area a lot. After they added the array, I still like the area a lot, and it largely plays the same. The only time the array seems to be super impactful for the game is when the circle ends there. Because if you are on top and it ends there, you potentially have an advantage. You potentially get.
I feel like you usually have a disadvantage staying up top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have to jump at some point, and then you're just such a easy target. Yeah, it's probably a disadvantage, actually. You're probably right. But yeah, I really like that area, too. I think it plays well.
Yeah. You know, I was scared when this came in, too. It's like, oh, God, there's going to be so many campers up there. But it's so high up, and it's so far from everything. It's like, you can't snipe people at Salt. You can't snipe people at Neighborhood, really, because there's also a bunch of trees and stuff below it that other people can get cover from. It's like it's too far from Stadium. It's too far from TV. It's kind of just, you're up there, but there's really no advantage to it. You're not going to kill anyone. And like you were just saying, I think when the circle ends there, people think, oh, I'm going to stay on top of the array because I have an advantage. Then they stay up there too long, comes down to it, the circle pulls away every single time, and then they have to jump off, and it's just an easy win every single time. So it's kind of easy to outplay people there because they think they're going to have the advantage, and then they're really at a severe disadvantage. So it's a good location, too. If you're close by, you can be like, oh, I want to get to this area quicker. If you're underneath it, you take the zip line up, you run to the other side of it, jump off, pull your parachute, float sideways. You can go really far from there. So all in all, I think this was a good addition to the map that didn't make the area worse at all, like we were worried it was.
Feared, yeah.
It also could have been a lot more toxic, like a bunch of levels and different catwalks on it, but it's pretty much just one level. And it's like, you know, you can sit on other parts of it, but if you're sniping, someone's going to see your glint from far away anyways, and it won't matter. So I like Array. It could have been very toxic, but it wasn't. Yeah.
And then next one I want to talk. So we're not going to talk about every single POI, but we're going to go through some standouts. Another one. This is an area that kind of changed for me. Surprisingly, from when Verdansk launched till now, my opinion on pretty much every area has been the same except for like 2 locations. And those are Farmland, which I used to enjoy a lot more because it was so dead, but there's just not that much loot there. I'd rather get loadout faster. But that's not super interesting to talk about. And then Quarry, which I think is interesting to talk about. When this game came out, I did not like Quarry. I thought it was too much, too many buildings. People can be in too many areas, too many spots. And I just did not like it, didn't do well there. But now I actually really like Salt Mine / Quarry, whatever. I really like that area now. Like I used to hate it, and now I like it quite a bit. I don't know why. Because going from Quarry to Salt Mine changed nothing fundamentally about the area. So it isn't that the map changed, it's that I changed. I don't know if I just learned it more or practiced being there more or if my playstyle changed. I don't know what the explanation for that is, but I've grown to really like Quarry. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it is a little dense on the buildings, and there are a lot of levels. You can be first story, second story, or roof, and then there's like 2 tiers of roof on many of those buildings. And then that's not to mention the towers you can get into, which don't really come into play very often. But then there are other different types of buildings that you can get first story or roof of. There's a lot going on, but it's also fairly, I think what it is it's fairly easy to pinpoint where people are. I don't know if this is crazy to say, but the audio works better in Quarry than anywhere else in Warzone.
Dude, I was waiting for you to finish, and that's what I was going to bring up about why I think that's a good area to fight. That's so funny. I didn't think you would say that same thing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's, and I just thought of that, but
it's all
like,
metal.
I think I can hear people. Yeah, I think that is what it is. It's all like super loud stomping metal. which is actually good because then you can rely on audio to figure out where people are. And you need that for an area like Quarry or Salt Mine where it's so dense. The buildings are so dense. So yeah, I've grown to really like Quarry.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the area?
Because that's the other thing with like other buildings where people are like running up from the outside. You know, they're running through grass or dirt. You don't hear them until all of a sudden they're on the steps 10 feet away from you because it's like concrete and wood. But metal, they actually did a good job in this game of making the metal. I don't know if it's louder or if it's just you hear it from further away. It seems like you hear it from further away is what it is. So you can always tell like, oh shit, a guy's coming up this staircase. And you can definitely tell too the audio when they're running on metal when it's the roof compared to like the staircase. Like it actually seems like the directional audio in that part of the map works a lot better. And it probably is because of the metal audio. So hopefully every single structure in Caldera is metal, right?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I agree with all that. I thought Salt's a pretty good area.
Yeah. What's this next point here, Tanner?
Another little point here is there's a lot of like regular little 2 or 3 story houses around the map. Those are very fun to fight in because first of all, there's no roof you can get on. Well, most of them, there's not. And the battles are always very intense and fun in there. And there's a lot of like outplay potential that you can do. So you can, there's a front door and a back door. You can open the back door. They hear you open it. They start looking at that. You run around the other side, smash a window, go back to the other door. You have them blended. You run into the building, they're looking the opposite direction. They're lost in the sauce. So I feel like that can happen a lot in those little buildings. There's a lot of jump spots too, where you can drive your Bertha up to it. You can jump into the second story window. They don't see it coming. It just gets real intense. Like we had a lot of those battles yesterday on stream. There was one time it was a bot lobby. It was a VPN lobby, sorry. And we pushed this house, and I was driving the Bertha, and Cope and Raz were in the back. I was like, I'm pulling you guys right up to the window, jump in it. I pulled up, Raz and Cope both jumped through. The guy didn't even shoot back, I don't think. He was just dead immediately, because it like throws people off.
In the sauce.
And that happens a lot at those buildings, I feel. A lot of just like really fun battles go on there. Like you don't necessarily have an advantage holding that building like you do a lot of other ones on the map, so... There are a lot of those all around, and those are really good, and I really hope Caldera has more of those, and it looked like it will have a whole lot of those little tiny buildings, so I'm very excited for that.
Dude, such a good point. So these are like the most common building in Verdansk, is these like little 2-story houses would that have like, the front door, the back door, maybe 2 or I think 3 windows, bottom level that you can jump through. 2 windows up top you can jump through, and then you can get to the roof most of the time. Maybe all the time. I think in theory you can get to the roof all the time. And what's good about these buildings is that, unlike Favorite, for example, which is a building that we call that because OP Marked calls it that, and we're OP Marked fanboys, friends of the pod. Favorite is a building that is southeast of Military Base. It is a very tall building, maybe 8
probably about
stories tall, that has rooftop access only via 2 staircases, and there's no rappels, and there's a very high wall around the rooftop so that if you're sniping from it, only your head is showing. And if you put like claymores in each of the 2 staircases, the only way people can get up is through those staircases or with a helicopter, or if they like drop from Gulag or something. So that building is an example of a building that is extremely defensible, which is toxic for the game in general. I don't know if there should be none of those buildings in a battle royale map. I think there's an argument to be made that there should be some of them, some extremely defensible buildings, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a lot more. But these little houses are the opposite of that. They're good, and I would rather be in the house than be on a rock outside.
Yeah, for sure.
A rock will provide some cover, but not enough. or not 360 degrees. But the houses, they provide good cover, but you can also absolutely get pushed in them. And it's not like impossible to do because there are enough entry points. And that makes them pretty balanced. So the better player is going to win most of the time, whether they're pushing the building or they're defending the building. That's what you want. It's cover that offers some protection, but it is not like any fucking monkey can hold it. So
Yeah.
the fact that these are the most populated buildings in Verdansk, almost certainly, I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's certainly what it feels like, is great. And they are really fun. And there's a lot of outplay potential. So yeah, these are excellent.
Yeah, just like you can just do so many fun things. Like you throw a thermite upstairs, you throw 2 thermites, push up through the stairs. They're blended. They can't hear because the thermite's going off, and just confusing. They're just really fun to fight. I love those battles.
Yeah, for sure. Next is the train. So not train station, although I will add, train station is a great area as well. It has so many. And that's another thing where it's like, oh, but it's a tall rooftop. It's like, okay, yes, it is. But you can also get to the rooftop from like 10 points. Like, that's that's what makes top train balanced but strong, is that you can get up there from a lot of different ways. But anyways, the train is what I'm referring to, which is the moving train. This was not in the game from launch, but they added it pretty soon after. Maybe halfway between launch and now. And I actually really like the addition of this because besides the recon contract that is on it, I think that shouldn't have ever been the thing. But the fact that there's really good loot on it and it's moving around the map, I think it's fun. Because it's mobile cover. It's not super OP. It's not like you can sit on the train and just automatically win because of the circle. And it adds some dynamism to an otherwise very static map. Nothing changes on this map. And if a game ends on the top of airport, it just ends on the top of airport. That's it. Yeah. Nothing else is going to change about it. But with the train, there are games where sometimes the match ends or the last circle, the train's like coming through at that time. And
you can like use it as cover cool. or like take it in to get closer to the circle. We do that every once in a while. Yeah. Not often, but that does happen.
Exactly. And I like that. I like that they've added that element of, dynamism again to the map that allows for some more outplay, thinking on your feet potential that you can either exploit to your advantage or get fucked by because the other people did. I think that was a cool addition, and it's not super overpowered. I wouldn't say it's overpowered at all. It's just a different avenue. It's a different thing that people can use to their advantage, and it's not static, unlike most things in Verdansk. I was really glad they added that.
It's also cute because it has an ammo refill on it. If I'm not mistaken, you're guaranteed 2 rare crates on it every time, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I think almost always. So then you pretty much are guaranteed at least 1 satchel off of it, a fat stack of money. You can pretty much land train, loot like the 4 or 5 chests on it, and have more than enough money for a loadout, drop off somewhere, buy a loadout. So it adds, just a slight different element, different change to the map that doesn't do a whole lot usually, but I think it is necessary. So I'm a little upset that it doesn't look like Caldera is going to have a train station, but hey, maybe they'll just add it in like they did with Verdansk. Maybe they'll add some sort of moving thing in. Who knows?
Yeah.
I know there's a gondola, but we'll see.
We'll for sure see, but yeah. All right, next. What do we have next here, Tanner?
Okay, an addition we had when we got the all-new map that oh my god, it's huge map changes. It's called Verdansk 1984. I don't know if you guys remember it. Jake was just saying in chat a little while ago, I can't believe we're switching maps. Raz still hasn't learned this one. So it's been a little confusing for some people. Yeah, it was way different. But so in the 84 version, they added Summit up to the northwest part of the map. Well-needed addition. That area was fucking dead. There was a bridge there before and a fire station. That was it. Now there's a bunch of buildings, gondola, rappel stations, helicopter spawn, multi-level loot areas, buy stations. dead part of the map that they made a lot better. It's usually not somewhere we dropped. Every once in a while we would drop there, grab the helicopter or something, but it was needed. It was used a lot. A lot of people landed there. You could take a gondola from the top of that, like all the way down closer, like getting closer to air traffic control tower. So that was pretty cute. The whole part of the map is good. You can jump off that bridge, float sideways for miles. So that whole corner ended up going from just a dead, terrible part of the map to a good area. I will say though, terrible area for circle endings. Doesn't happen often, but when the circle ended there, it was really bad because you know there'd be people on top, up at summit, then there'd be people all the way at the bottom. You have to take a zip line up. Just really bad for the circle to end there, but interesting to fight in. Decent spot to regain if the circle's going over there because it's so spread out that usually there's areas you can loot. But you know, it was a necessary change to an otherwise just deserted part of the map, I think.
Yeah, and before that change, for those of you who don't remember, it was Dam.
Yeah.
And there was like the frozen lake, the unclimbable cliff face, we will of course be getting into. And yeah, not much else going on. There's like a fire station up there. Then there's like the elevated frozen lake and some like trash little houses before you get over to Millie.
Yeah.
So Summit was a good addition too. It is super dynamic. I don't know if I agree that circles that end there are bad. I'll say that if a circle ends there and you're not prepared for it, you are fucked. But that could maybe be an argument that is a good thing because you should like be expecting that or something. I don't really know. I'd have to think about that.
That's one of those spots though too where it's hard to pick if you like we were just saying with the huge massive array, you don't stay on top. That's a bait. You stay at the bottom. But when you're at array, it gets more confusing. Because if you're at the bottom, the circle may shrink enough where it's just covering like the main part at summit where you basically are cut off. But then once the circle even shrinks more and then moves, then you're going to have the benefit. But it's like you probably won't even survive long enough because you won't be able to get into the circle to have that benefit of people jumping off there. So it's just a weird, very weird area to fight in. I don't know. It's essentially like the circle ending right at the bottom of Nakatomi, except you're not in downtown. That's what it is. Yeah. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too strong of feelings about Summit. I think it's better than Dam.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, I don't know. All right, next point here, Tanner.
So like some of the other fluff areas of the map, like Port, Hills, Farmland, great locations to regain. Not a whole lot of people land there. When they do, you know, Farm is so open and spread out. Port is so open and spread out. Hills, just people don't usually go there. They're good locations if you get squad wiped and, you know, you're dropping somewhere totally different on the map. They were a great spot to land, find some loot, not necessarily a whole lot, but enough to get by, you know, maybe a decent ground loot gun. You guys can get in a fight with a squad, kill them, get their weapons and everything. So they served a purpose. They weren't great drop spots, but it was good to have those areas. I feel like Port is probably the main one because Port is so spread out. You can never go there and not find an area that wasn't looted. There's always at least one part of it where there's shit that you can grab. So those areas are really good. You know, not locations you really love fighting in, but necessary regain locations that made the map, I think, flow a lot better than if they weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, there were... Yeah. Huh. There were enough POIs... Yeah, I think this kind of leads to a broader point, which I'm glad you brought up. There are a lot of POIs on the map in general, such that you can regain.
Yeah.
So when you have areas like Superstore and train station and hospital, you're going to attract a ton of players dropping in at the beginning of the match to these hot spots. And the reason they're hot is because they have a ton of loot. But because Verdansk has so many POIs and the size of the map is so big enough for sure, then there are usually, unless it's really late in the game, areas to drop in that are not the hot spots off drop. that you can go to and get some loot. And that is good and it's necessary. And another thing that I like too is that the spacing between POIs, I think in general is pretty good. There's a fair amount of distance, between each POI, such that if one team lands at POI 1 and one team lands at POI 2, they're going to have about, on foot, a minute, 90 seconds before they can possibly see each other. And then in a car, 30 seconds before they see each other, or a vehicle. And that's good, I think. And yeah, there's enough shit going on to where you can regain. And it's not a bunch of just completely unused dead space. I don't know how this would compare to another BR. This is like the only BR I've really played. But when I look at games like maybe PUBG, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, but my impression is some of those maps, there's one POI. And then everywhere else is like,
You're right. Yeah, it is. And then that leads to like unexpected weird areas that you end up fighting in, you know? Like areas that you don't expect, like when you're trying to travel from one POI to another. I think that was the worst actually in H1Z1. H1Z1 was a really good map for the survival mode where, you know, it was like PvP, PvE, you build your base and shit. But for Battle Royale, I don't think the map was that good because there were like no POIs really. There were a few and then it was just open, nothing in the middle of that. So you kind of just have to drive around. There were cars at least. You can drive around all fast. And then you just like couldn't, it was just like weird, unexpected fights in the middle of nowhere versus like having a lot of POIs spread out perfectly like they are, like in Verdansk. It leads to just, I guess, more intense and just more battles that are taking place more often, I think is what it is. So that is true. PUBG, the original PUBG map and like the H1Z1 map and the changes it had, not similar to Verdansk in that sense. The POIs were few and far between, and they were very spread out in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the next point is something I really, really... This might be my favorite part of Verdansk, the map. So I really like most of the outside edges of the map. So the edge of the map around prison, I fucking hate because prison. But like I think my favorite spot for the game to end of every possible ending location is to the east. Okay, you're in Lumber. Okay, you go north to the police station, north. Now you turn 90 degrees east, and then you go all the way up there to the edge of the map. There's like that little valley, like you climb up the hill. There's like the valley that dips in. When the game ends there, it's so fun. I love that area, that edge of the map. And a lot of the edges of the map are also like really fun and dynamic, again, to fight on, because there's a lot of elevation changes and there's like peaks, valleys. There's a lot of trees. There are rocks. There's sufficient cover, but you can't protect yourself from every angle. And I like how they've done that with the edges of the map. So this would be the opposite, for example, of like east of farmland. It's like crops and it's pretty fucking flat. They changed that sort of with 84 because there's like the crashed plane and whatnot. And there's a little more elevation dips. And even like east of prison is like fairly flat from what I can remember. Those edges I don't like because they're flat and it's really hard. Like it's very hard because it's hard to take cover when there are no elevation changes. But most of the edges of the map of this game, or on this map rather, have a lot of altitude changes and therefore a lot of cover and a lot of outplay potential that I quite like. Now again, not every edge of the map. There are edges of the map like just south of Summit where it's really steep and difficult to climb, and if you're under that, you're kind of fucked. But
yeah, boy, are you.
If you look like west of Storage or west of Boneyard, those are really fun too. And I really like those areas. So I think they've done, by and large, a good job with the edges of the map. That makes it really fun to play at. And it's just like, all right, dude, let's see who can shoot better. Like, let's go. It's fucking super fun. So I quite like the outside edges of the map in general. So And then Tanner might have more to say on that when he gets back, but I'll move on to this next point. The last thing that I think is good is the size to population ratio. The per capita size of the map, as it were, is pretty goddamn good. So there are games that are obviously slow, like, I haven't seen anyone for a while. And then there are games where everyone drops in the same spot and it obviously feels very densely populated. But on the whole, I think the size of the map per capita is pretty good. It's about the right size for the number of people that are in the game, and that is something that is probably not very easy to do that they did well. This is one of those things that I wouldn't really think about most of the time, but you can imagine that you can make a map too big for your player count or too small for your player count.
Hey, PUBG.
You can imagine that, okay, yeah, there you go. I'll take your word for it. You can imagine that is pretty easy to do and pretty easy to fuck up. And surprisingly, that does not feel like they fucked it up with this map. You see people, it's not overwhelming. There aren't too many people, but it's also not like just dead all the time where you have to like reliably wait 10 minutes before you see anyone. I quite like the population density of the map. And also the number of vehicles on the map too is pretty good. It does not feel like there are too many vehicles on this map. It does not feel like there aren't enough vehicles on the map. It feels like the right number of vehicles. And again, that's something I feel like could be fucked. They could have fucked that up and they just didn't. And it plays like pretty well. So I'm very pleased with that. This is again something I wouldn't have given much thought. And this would almost be a given, but from what I know about other BRs, I think Apex is like pretty low population density compared to this game. Too low, maybe. I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah, I think Apex is very low player count. The maps are smaller too.
Yeah. And then, PUBG, as you've said, perhaps too. But I think this is something that's easy to fuck up, and I'm surprised they did a good job. So anything on either of these 2 points here, Tanner?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about the size and the player count. It is perfect. 125, 100 would be way too little. 200 would be way too many. So I think they got it perfect. And what we're seeing with Caldera is it appears to be the same size, and so far it sounds like we're getting the same player count. I don't think there's any confirmation of that, but there's no reason to think that's changing. And yes, a good amount of vehicles. The perfect amount of helicopters too. I feel like they could have easily screwed that up, and there have been like 5 more helicopters on the map every time. That'd be good for certain people, I guess. It'd be kind of fun, but also I don't think that would add any benefits really to the map. And so, they did perfect with that. And then what you're saying about the outside edges of the map, totally agree with. Prison, terrible area. I also don't like the northeast part of the map. Like to the east of Salt and like north of that.
Oh, with that giant valley?
Yes.
Yeah.
Luckily, circles don't seem to end there anymore. They used to always
really
end there, right?
Dude, that's true.
They used to always end there, and they don't
there
anymore.
A lot. I haven't seen it lately at all. That's a good point.
Yeah,
You're right.
even prison endings don't seem to happen anymore. It seems like they've changed a lot of that as it's gone on. So hey, there's another pro to Verdansk. I think they've done a good job. Most of the time, the circle ends in a pretty good spot. Most of the time, there are obviously times it doesn't, but yeah. So outside edge of the map usually pretty good for the most part. I agree with everything you said.
All right. So anything else, Tanner, that we want to talk about in the what we liked section here?
No, I don't think so. I think it's about it for that.
Okay. So now we're moving on to a much longer list. What we did not like. Smile. So we all jump in quickly to remind you guys. This is not everything we liked about Verdansk, nor will this be everything we didn't like about Verdansk. But these are important big ones, I think, that are worth mentioning. So again, in no particular order. Promenade East is just dog shit. It has no redeeming qualities. It's not fun no matter what your playstyle is. Unless your playstyle is to literally be ghosted and hide on top of a sink in a bathroom, in one of the many, many apartment buildings there. If that's your play style, Promenade's just excellent for you. Prom East. I'm going to start saying Promenade now because I'm done saying Prom East like an asshole. Make different names for them, Activision, thanks in advance. But besides that, it's a terrible area. I fucking hate it. The staircases are dog shit. The ladder's dog shit. It's too easy to defend. It's not fun to fight in. It's too narrow.
What building are you thinking of? They don't even really have ladders. That's what makes it worse too.
I mean, from the top of the staircase to the roof.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Which is just impossible to climb up.
Oh,
if there's someone in that cubby, you're fucked. You can't get up there. Your only way up there is to fly in. You can't do it from a ladder. Like, it's so impossibly hard. There's nothing redeeming about it. I fucking hate it. And running around on the street outside, there are so many of those apartment roofs where you can just get your ass fucked from. I've never liked Prom, never will. Can't wait to say goodbye to it. Fucking hate it. And it's awful. Yeah. Terrible dog shit part of the map.
Yeah. Yeah, those buildings, you can't push up there. Because those are buildings that needed rappel stations on the outside and they didn't add them in. It needed a ladder, a rappel, something, and they never added it. And it's even the worst players can hold that building relatively easily. Like, even if you're way more skilled, doesn't matter. A lot of times you won't be able to take that building. So much as like we'll often just say forget it and leave people there. We know they're there. We start shooting at them from the cubby. You get it down. We're like, fuck it. We're not risking this. We need to buy 2 of our teammates back or something. We're not trying to push this 2v4, even though we can tell these guys are missing all their shots. They're not good. It's just not worth it. So, it's just a disaster having all of those buildings in that area with no ladder on the outside, no rappel station. There's very few that have that. That like the tallest building in Prom East closest to Hospital, that one has a rappel on the outside that they put on. But almost none of the other ones do. You have to run up through the inside staircase on almost all of them. So, you know, Warzone made a...
That's why it's so dog shit.
Yeah.
Great point.
They made a great addition when they added zip lines into a bunch of buildings. But, Promenade East needed a whole lot of those, and there are none there. So that's, I think, what makes the area so bad. And when you get in those cubbies, nasty head glitch spot. I mean, you almost don't even see the person, yet they see you fully, and they're, just ripping shots at you. And you can maybe see their hair or something as they're sniping you. So it's pretty rough. Horrible location. I actually will argue that this area is worse than downtown. Because in downtown, a lot of the buildings are so high that they're not looking straight down. You can be running in the street. They won't even know you're there. Promenade, the buildings are the height where it's the most toxic, where they can camp. They get nasty head glitches because they get on the roof so they can sit on the, say you're running down the middle of the street. They can sit on the side of the roof furthest from the street, get a nasty head glitch on you. You will not be able to take them off that head glitch unless you have a sniper and get a nice shot on them. You'll just be an easy target for them.
And even then, you're probably not going to get the thirst. They can just drop down instantly. And then,
downtown has these massive buildings, but a lot of them ended up having rappel stations on them. Or elevators, staircases, at least about, 3 ways to get up there. Still difficult to take, but in Prom, it's just, Prom is 100% worse than downtown, in my opinion. Because it's just, people know where you are at all times, whereas downtown, you can run on the street in plain sight, but they just don't know and don't see you.
Yep. Yeah. You have better vision from a Prom roof than from a downtown roof, because downtown is full of skyscrapers. So if I'm on top of one building in downtown, there are so many other super tall buildings all around me that if there's a team on the ground, but they're just behind literally one of the buildings, I won't be able to see them. They'll have cover. But with Prom, it's like apartments in like a straight line. So you can just see everyone who is on either side of the straight row of apartment buildings that are also like super narrow not vertical, but like straight skinny buildings. Whereas in downtown, it's like, it's not just 2 like rows of apartments. or 2 rows of buildings rather. They're pretty like scattered and there's just a lot of cover if you're on the ground. That's not to say downtown is good, because it's also fucking awful. But I think prom is worse, and I think you're in more danger from people on roofs there if you're on the ground than in downtown. Another reason these buildings are so toxic is that the staircases they have no like what's it called? What's it called when you're driving up like a mountain road and you can like turn out? Is it called a turnout? Tanner would know. He goes to Big Bear. Like you're going up turnout. It's called a turnout, yeah. So like in a lot of the buildings that have staircases that go up for 14 stories in this game, there are a lot of turnouts. So one example is one of these buildings in downtown. Imagine you go to downtown, you're at hospital, you cross that bridge to go to downtown. There's a fire station to your right. Keep going another 50 meters and turn left. That building, I don't know what it's called. If you're going up those stairs, like every other floor, there's a turnout to like a room. And you can't like go anywhere from the room, but you can take some cover if someone's camping those stairs. There are like turnouts to where you can take a breath. And even if you're getting pinched from the top and the bottom of the staircase, you have that turnout to where you can go, plate up, or you can have the advantage of the choke point rather than them. But in these prom apartments, there are no turnouts except the very top of the staircase where the ladder to the roof is. There's also, you go around, there's that like bedroom or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the reason that those staircases are so hard to take, is that if you don't get to the very top level, then you're completely trapped. You have to either go down or up. And if they're pinching you, you could have 4 people, but if you're getting pinched 2 down, 2 up, you're dead. You're just fucked because there's no turnouts.
Yeah.
And a lot of the staircase buildings in this game do have these turnouts that make it playable, but a lot of them don't. And prom is, none of them do. So that's what makes it super impossible to take. And then next is downtown. I mean, like Tanner said, it like you can move around there a lot of times, but it's still just so unfun to play at.
Yeah.
And the frame rate for downtown got progressively worse and worse as time went on. The performance got worse and worse as time went on. It's not fun to fight pretty much anywhere downtown. The only exception is the building that is like, how do I explain this? It's like the building directly south of Stadium. Not Other Favorite. I mean, Other Favorite's fun to fight at too, but there's another one that's to the west more.
Yeah,
that's
the one
like
that
buy station. It's really close to police. That building.
The one that also only has an interior staircase and you can't get up from the outside anyway. That one.
There's the interior
that's 2
staircase.
staircases.
There's also the interior rappel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the building itself is, toxic. But yeah, there's 2 staircases and the interior rappel to get up to one of them. The top of one of them.
Yeah.
But like it's right by police. Outside there, towards Stadium, it's actually quite fun to fight around there, I think. But anyway, other than that, I find downtown woefully uninteresting and just terrible performance. Not fun. It's not even fun to play on a roof of downtown, I feel like. Because
it's really not.
Like Tanner was saying, you can't get that many kills up there. Because you can't see a lot. You can only see other people on other rooftops most of the time. And then even then, if you're like, okay, I got it down, I'm not going to get a kill. Like, it's just, he's going to get rezzed, whatever. And so the only advantage there is to being in downtown is just not dying. And that's not fun. It's not fun to be that person nor play against that person. Because it's like, okay, cool. He can't finish me. I can't finish him.
So many knocks on the roofs.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so we're just going to jerk each other off and like damage stat pad with no hope of any kind of like forward momentum for either party. It's dumb. It's not fun. So yeah, downtown's dog shit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. We've talked about downtown plenty. It's just not fun to fight in. Just big cities like that, developers think they're going to be interesting and fun, and then they're usually just not. It's just they're not fun to fight in first person shooters. The fact that downtown, by the way, was a ground war map in Modern Warfare.
Yep.
Oh my god, that was worse than Piccadilly. Actually, I would not play that. I backed out of hundreds of games of ground war queuing for that. Holy shit. But yeah, downtown is one of the areas that I think actually got worse as time went on. Nakatomi Plaza, horrible addition. Terrible building to fight in. Terrible for your frame rate when it first came out. The vault shit was cute for when that was in. That was interesting and cute. But horrible fucking building. Wait, just a waste. It was better when it was Trump Tower, I think. Because with Trump Tower, there was the bottom lobby, which was nothing. It was the zip line to get up to the top. And then there was the level where the zip line comes out, there was a few cubicles there. You went up the staircase, you were on the roof. That was it. With Nakatomi, it's so many levels, confusing. I still don't know that building. I don't know how to get up top half the time. There's rappels everywhere, but it'll only go to a certain floor. Then you have to get out and take the staircase, it's just a horrible place to fight. So that made downtown worse. But downtown's just not interesting. I've also said this before. I think, as annoying as the tall buildings are, the most overpowered ones are the buildings that were not the tallest skyscrapers, but the ones where it's more similar to Promenade, where it's at the level where you just can't do anything about. They get a head glitch on you, they beam you, and you can't do shit. Yeah. So downtown, all in all, sucks. The changes with the earthquake and the crack were I liked it at first, but now I think it's actually worse than when they were just buildings. There's the giant cracks. It's just hard to get around. I don't know. It's not fun.
Yeah, they don't add anything, because why would you ever want to be at a lower altitude than everyone else on the map? You wouldn't. So the whole thing, all that does is just some area that you don't ever want to be in ever. There's almost never a situation where you'd rather be in the crack than ground level. Almost never. It's just so bad. So yeah, you add all of this extra stuff, all this extra area where you should absolutely never go and you should avoid at all costs. Cool. So, okay, I guess. I mean, you might as well have just made it lava.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I can play on less of the map now. That doesn't, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next here. Factory. I'm with Tanner on this. Tanner wrote a note. Factory absolutely sucks is how it starts. And I don't exactly know why. True. Factory I hate it. I don't know if we just don't play enough anymore, so we don't know each and every stair and rappel and nook and cranny and doorway and subterranean doorway and maze puzzle solution. I have no idea. But Factory sucks. I don't know if it's just me or if it's not. If it's maybe that it's bad in and of itself. I'm imagining the building now, and the fact that it has that under the plane area, I don't like at all. Although it doesn't get used that much. That's not really my problem with it. Part of my problem with it is the visibility inside of Factory is not good. Even by Verdansk standards. It's pretty dark in there, and you can lose people. But even that doesn't happen to me that often. It's more like it's a building that has a pretty good amount of elevation. And if there's a team on top Factory and you are trying to cross the road or even go to the buy station underneath it, it is very easy to not know that they are up there because they are hidden, because it's a big enough building to where they can be on the roof and not be visible to you. And then by the time you buy someone back or buy a loadout, they obviously hear it or see the smoke and know that you bought them back. And then they come over and fuck you, and you didn't see that they were up there, so you didn't even know they were there, and then you get your ass fucked. Or Or even if you're not buying anything, they just maybe pop a UAV, or they say see you and you don't see them, and then they kill you. I think maybe that's why I don't like it, is that it is a building that has a rooftop that is pretty tall, and where it's situated on the map makes it super powerful to everyone on the ground there in a way that is not the same, for example, at Nakatomi. If you're on the roof of Nakatomi and I'm on the ground, I'm not really afraid of you if I'm right outside Nakatomi. But if you're on the roof of Factory and I'm right on the ground, you're going to kill me. I'm kind of fucked, actually.
Yes, yeah.
More so than most
glitches.
Buildings, in fact.
I agree.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, but I agree. I avoid Factory if I can. I don't ever do well there.
Yeah, I can't really figure out. It fucking sucks though. Another thing too is the inside of those like major buildings are just full of clutter and garbage shit. It's like, it's really sunny, and then you run into those buildings and they're darker and you don't know where anyone's ever going to be. There's, there's kind of like that little underground area too, they're like underneath the planes, and then that takes you through another hall or more hallways and shit. It's very confusing. So the inside's a disaster. The roofs are a disaster. Even though there's access to different areas, it's so easy to hold those roofs still. It's just easy to camp. We fought a team up there the other day. Jake and I went up there. We killed 3 of them, and there was one more camping in a corner. I jumped off the roof, and then he kills Jake. It's like it's so easy to rat up there because that rooftop again is one of those where the edges are really tall, and you can't see over it. So, Factory is terrible. It also kind of sucks because it kind of took away from Super, I feel. It turned into like a lot of people just land Factory instead of Super. And then it's when you're at Superstore, you loot up, you get a loadout, and then you pick up a bounty. The bounty 90% of the time is at Factory. Smile, now we have to push Factory. Not fun. I don't know. I just really hate fighting there.
You know what else is trash about it is the plane on the ground outside of Factory. I don't like it there.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough cover to where that just actually makes it difficult to see if anyone's at Factory.
That kind of cuts off
the
coming.
Plane is in the way from Super.
Yeah. That cuts off that run from Super. Yeah, and you're right. I actually try not to go that way anymore. I try to go around to the edge towards like Virgin Towers, and then come in through that side because fighting through like looking at that plane is terrible. You're right.
Next, Air Traffic Control Tower. I'm not opposed to that structure being there. I'm opposed to one's way up only.
Yeah, 100%.
This is another example, even more. This is the most defensible position in the entire map. Favorite is good, but ATC is insanely good. It's got literally 1 point to get up, and it's not even a staircase. It's a rappel. The reason that's worse is because if I'm going up one staircase to get to the roof, at least I can shoot while I'm on the stairs. At least I have some chance. Coming up a rappel, no chance. You can't shoot while you're rappelling, so you just die. Oftentimes, if you're an idiot like I am, you'll go up the rappel, YOLO, there's 3 claymores, you see them and you can't do anything, you'll just die. You are just dead. It is the most defensible position in the game. And also, you can't really fly into it either because it's like a fucking 4-foot opening. You can't like fly a chopper in there. You can land top ATC, sure, but you can't take the main area of it. And to fly into it, you have to be, you have to be a Microsoft Flight Simulator veteran to like, okay, I'm going to position us exactly here, drop now, parachute in 0.32 milliseconds or seconds, whatever, and then like go at this altitude, this trajectory, cut your chute now, and then you can be in. And they're going to know you're doing all this, by the way, because there's a fucking chopper that they noticed, probably. And then it's just so hard to take. Yeah, ATC is far too defensible. They needed to add at least another way up there. An exterior zip would have been good.
There, yeah.
2 exterior zips would have been better. I think that's probably all that makes sense. Maybe have it so the opening is bigger so that you can more easily deploy troops from a chopper.
Deploy troops, yeah.
There are a lot of things they could have done. So the existence of the tower in and of itself, I think I'm fine with, actually. It's just the fact that it's impossible to get up there once someone else is up there. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And if like they get a really good circle pull and circles ending around the end of ATC, man, it's hard because it's tall enough to where it's very hard to kill people out of. Oh, and by the way, because it has like a quasi roof, if you get a down up there, you can't even precision it to get a finish. You won't get it because they have the roof. Like it's impossible to kill a 4-man up there. It's impossible. Literally, the only thing you can do is wait and pray that the circle pulls away from it toward you so that they have to jump out and you can shoot them while they are. If it pulls away from you and they get to jump after you have to like run on foot past them, you're 100% dying because it's tall enough to be super advantageous, but not so tall that they're not going to snipe the fuck out of you if you're on the ground. They will pretty easily. And if they're not sniping too, they can just use an AR and beam you pretty goddamn easily. It's just insanely good. It's an insanely powerful position. It needs to be overtakeable, and it's not.
Yeah,
so this is dog shit.
That's what I mean when I say I don't like it. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it's not the building; it's the fact you can't get up there. And obviously, they've learned this with Caldera because you can already see from the screenshots there is an outer staircase getting up to the air traffic control tower. Also, it's not nearly as big or as tall on the new map from what it appears, but it looks like there's either the only way to get up there is from the outside, or that means there's 2 points of entry, which is a very good sign. You need more than one way to get up to air traffic control. You just leave people up there. I mean, it's really not the end of the world. It's very annoying, but it's more because I want to waste my time sniping them. I've gotten hundreds of down sniping people up there. I've never full killed one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, tens of thousands of points of damage, haven't gotten a kill. Doesn't matter. It's a waste of my ammo. It's a waste of my time. But I just like pissing them off and downing them constantly. Eventually, they have to jump off the stupid tower, but that's why I don't like it. There's no way to counter it. There's no zip on the outside. There's just nothing. So it's I mean, no one camping up there is going to be good ever. So the minute they have to jump down, it's just free, easy kills because they jump off and parachute every single time. No one ever goes down on the zip and then runs out the bottom. No, they jump off. You can shoot them all out of the sky. But it's just having people camp up there for a while and shoot out of it is just very annoying to do and deal with. So I hate it.
Yeah, agreed. What do we got next?
Oh, okay. So this is kind of getting away from the actual map a little bit here. One thing I didn't like about this is they spent all this time teasing potential large map changes, then they spent making map changes, right? So remember back in Modern Warfare, every single season we'd have a new cutscene and tease like the nuclear warheads and all of this shit people would think would be coming in that season, the following season, and just nothing ever happened, right? Just nothing. All these stupid cutscenes, these bunkers opening up, and then nothing would actually change with the map. They just I don't know. It was just so many missed opportunities, I think, to do anything. And it was just very annoying to deal with that. Is we always like expected something to be coming with the map, and then it wouldn't, and it was always a letdown. Like really, you look at Verdansk from when it started, there are changes, nothing major. Nothing that major has changed with the map since the beginning. Yeah. Then you look at Fortnite. You look at Fortnite's map from today to a year and a half ago, you won't even be able, it doesn't even look like the same map, right? Because they make constant map changes. So that's a big letdown. They spent so much time on all that lore and shit instead of actually changing the map, which made me furious.
Yeah, for sure. There were not enough map changes, yeah. And they could have done them. That's the issue I have, because they did do them sometimes. Like, they added the train. That was a pretty big map change that was really good. They also added... Oh, what else was I thinking about? The bunkers and shit, which were pretty big changes too, because there were a lot of them. And also, like, that ship that, like, crashed to the west of prison, like, that was a cool area. That was a cool map change that was, like, pretty big, but it wasn't, like, an insane amount of work that they had to do to like change up the map quite a bit. That was a really fun area, and then it went away. And I wish they had just done that more. Like add the ship and then like keep that for a season. And then, you know, leave the ship there and add something else or change something else or remove the ship and then change something else or remove the ship and add something else. That is a missed opportunity. And I don't know if that says so much about the map as it does the game itself, but that was tragic. And then let's not forget about the fucking subway system, by the way.
Smile.
They also like opened the roof of Stadium, which I was on board with, and I think that was a good change, and that was fun.
That was a good change.
But like, you know, they could have done so much more of that. And it would have been so much better than them wasting time on events like the Finding Adler shit, for example, that just didn't change how the game is played. Changing the icon for my scavenger contract does not change my gameplay experience. Adding new areas to the map, opening the roof of Stadium, adding the train, these do change my gameplay experience. Spend more time on those things, less time on dogshit events that are completely useless and have profoundly little impact on how the game is played, which is the story of almost every event except the 2 Halloween events. And then, again, the subway system. Holy shit. I mean, holy shit. It literally never worked as intended. I'm not kidding. There was not a moment in time. There was not a 60-second span where the subway system worked as intended. It never worked as intended. Never. Never. Literally never did it work as intended. It came out, it was bugged, you'd get on and it would your next stop would be the gas 3 kilometers away from Circle and then you die. And they said they were going to fix it. They literally never did. And then they just said, fuck it. Fuck the subway system.
They said, these have been sealed up. Smile. See ya.
Smile. Yeah.
And hey, no one complained about that going. That's weird. I wonder why. I thought people loved it.
Yeah. And like, you know, I don't know. That looked like it was a lot of work to implement and it just never did anything. And when we had gotten news of the subway system, but before it was released, we were like, I don't know how this will be for the game. Will it be good? Will it be bad? I think we even did a Patreon episode on that topic. We certainly talked about it somewhere. And I remember thinking like, I don't know if this is going to be good for the game. It might not be. And then it just didn't even work anyway. But it's like, you could have just added something else like that shipwreck by prison. That would have just been so much better and easier to make work, by the way. And instead you added a subway system that, if it worked, might not have been a good addition to the game because you're trying to get a little too cute. And even if it would have been good for the game, it never worked anyway. It was too big of an undertaking. You could have done less work, like adding the ship by prison, and gotten more benefit from it. And everyone would have liked that more, obviously.
Yeah,
because then you could have taken the extra time that you've saved by making the ship instead of the subway system to add another new map change later on that everyone would have liked, and it would have worked guaranteed.
Yeah, more just minor map changes would have been
exactly.
great. I mean, it's like so when these satellites crash, Smile, if you don't remember, hey, there's a crashed satellite to like the east of farmland. Why? No one goes out there anyways. What's the point? If you're going to add in changes like that, have that satellite crash into the front parking lot of Superstore. Somewhere where people go. Something to actually make it interesting. When you add stuff like that in an area of the map where no one goes and it's not interesting enough to bring people there, it's not like the summit change. It's not interesting enough to have people landing there. There's also no loot at those stupid satellite crash sites. It's just a big waste, you know. It's like, okay, they're doing something, but let's add changes that actually kind of affect the map instead of just throwing them on the map and pretending like you're doing something. Like with the when there were all the like the bunker thing that they have now, like those bunkers you can go down in, where beforehand it was like those mobile broadcasting stations that just made unnecessary sound for a month. Just stupid, unnecessary. Make map changes that matter and that people will actually care about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So. Okay, next here. This
Smile.
this is a giant smile. Collision in general. I mean, collision in general. So you could be driving a Bertha, right? And you can just drive it through a chain link fence, a wooden picket fence. You can mob over a 3-foot wall with a Bertha, and that's all well and good. But God forbid you find a tree stump and it'll flip your shit or just completely stop you, right? And if you find a pebble, maybe, you won't see it, of course, but it'll affect your vehicle or you on foot. It'll it'll stop you from continuing your slide, and then all of a sudden you're stuck and you're dead. Sliding into or trying to sprint past a sapling. It's like all of a sudden you're running in place when you should just be able to just hop over it. Elite operator, by the way. The changes they made to a lot of the buildings by Lumber, for example, where if you're outside of the building and you want to jump through the first floor ground level window, you can't. And it's for no discernible reason. There are buildings where you just can't jump in the window from the ground level, which is weird because most buildings in the game, you can do that. So you're a fucking elite special operations 6'2", 190-pound super soldier, elite top tier killing machine. You have a helicopter certification. You can use every type of weapon without having to practice. You know how they all work. You can shoot them all. You've memorized how many rounds are in each and every magazine. But God forbid you try to climb into a window that is 3 feet off the ground. You just can't do it. You're not athletic enough. Or just any other random rock that you just can't climb on top of, mantle. Really, really weird collision on this map that I hate. And that's to say nothing about all this shit you just can't climb. Also, there are certain rock faces that have a fucking 80-degree incline that you can just tactical sprint up, just defying the laws of physics. I mean, you have turbo quads like a horse. But then also, there is a rock that you just can't get on top of. And it's so weird. It's so strange. A lot of shit that you should be able to climb that you can't, and a lot of weird collisions, saplings, pebbles that will just ruin your day and absolutely get you killed. I hope this trend doesn't continue, and I'm fairly confident it will in Caldera, but this is very annoying.
Yeah, hey, I hope you're wrong about not being able to climb this shit, or at least hopefully they've learned their lesson and they put a bunch of pathways up. So instead of making it so they have to fix the climbing of the rocks, instead you can just run up little pathways. But those will need to be about every 15 feet on a rock face. And there are a lot of those in Caldera. There's a lot of verticalities you can see. And there's not a whole lot of roads with those. So that's going to be interesting to see how our elite World War II operators, climb over these objects. But yeah, it's one of the areas I really hate is, so think school, go west down the road, make a right up that rock face going up to like where police is. That rock face right there. There are areas where it looks like there's little pathways and like, oh, I can easily jump up here and get over this. Nope, smile, get fucked, kid, go on to the next rock. I go to the next rock that's way bigger. Absolutely, oh, I won't be able to jump up this. I jump and I just straddle over that thing and I'm up above it. And I'm like, huh? I was trying to just climb over a little 6-inch rock and it wouldn't let me. And I've lost so many fights and matches because of that, over, south of Fire, west of Airport, up on those rocks in that tunnel. When the circle ends there, you can't do anything. When someone's up top of there, you can't do anything.
Police, you mean?
Yes. Yeah. You can't get up those rocks. You just immediately lost the game. So I really hope none of that's coming to Caldera, but hey, the way they've designed the map, it looks like that has the potential to be even worse. So I'm not too excited about that. But yeah, All of that stuff is very annoying. I would like them to add something in where you can basically climb over stuff that's bigger, and there's just a longer animation of doing so. That would be perfectly fine, obviously.
It'd be a good balancing.
Yeah, give me a 3-second animation.
Where you have to like, yeah.
Yeah, hey, that's fine with me. Give me a 3-second animation of me climbing over this boulder. As long as I can get on top of something, that's all I want.
And I know what's going to happen. This happens too, where it's like, you know, you're getting gases on your butt, your little cute little butt, and you're trying to climb up like a hill or a mountain, whatever, and you're like, okay, maybe I can climb this rock and maybe I can't. I don't know. Let's find out. And then you like gamble and go for it and it works and you're like, thank God. Oh my God, I was dead if this didn't work. Or it doesn't work and you are dead. And then, so then there are times where it's like, the optimal route right now is for me to go this way, but I'm unclear on whether my elite operator can make it over this 18-inch rock. So I'm going to take a suboptimal route just to guarantee that I don't die right now trying to climb this.
Exactly.
That's very annoying too. The inconsistency and the not knowing is really dog shit. Luckily, this is not so common that it makes me like want to pull my hair out, but it's common enough to where it's noticeable and annoying. Yeah. So this is not fun and exciting for sure. Next point here is, I don't know if this says so much about the map as it does the game. I'll mention it anyway. The circles are just trash. You know, you have a map, it has a playable area, and many times the first circle, 60% of the first circle is outside of the playable area. So you've effectively taken this map that you've designed for 150 people and then immediately made the map 60% smaller. And now like the game starts on a Rebirth Island size map with a Verdansk sized lobby. And I don't know why they do this. It used to be worse, but it's still bad. Don't have the circle be in such a way that the easternmost edge is at Superstore. Okay? Because then I just can't play on any of this map. It's so weird that they do this. I don't understand why they do it. It doesn't make sense to me. Again, I don't know if this is really about Verdansk. It probably isn't, but I wrote it down. I think I should mention it. This used to be worse, though.
Yeah,
this did get
a huge
better
issue anymore.
But it still does absolutely happen.
We did have one yesterday where it was like immediately, like the dead center of the zone was pretty much at Salt.
Salt.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. It is kind of weird sometimes. I don't think it's a major issue anymore, honestly.
Yeah, it's not as bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next point here is the performance in general. Again, I don't know if this is so much for Verdansk as it is Warzone in general, but I mean like frame rates, stuttering, crashing, low frames. I said that. I don't know if this is Modern Warfare or if it was Warzone, but I remember the game came out and then maybe 6 months in, we were like, man, the performance is like really improved. Like I'm getting more frames anywhere. Yeah. The visibility is even a little better. And then since that time, the performance is getting even worse and worse and worse. And to this day, right now, I can play in Verdansk and have fewer than 100 frames in some areas. Besides Nakatomi. Nakatomi's always been bad since it came out. But even outside of Nakatomi, there are areas where I have like 90 frames. And with my system, that should never be happening. And there was a time in Warzone where I never got 90 frames anywhere ever.
No. Never even dipped to that.
Yeah, not even. Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't know what it is, but Verdansk is just a terribly, terribly optimized map. It doesn't use your graphics card, Don't buy a graphics card. Use an onboard graphics card. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Spend all
basically.
your money on RAM and a CPU. Is that how it should work for a video game? Of course not, but Activision. I don't know. The performance is awful on this map, though. It could be significantly better, and it simply isn't, and I hate it.
Yeah. Rebirth is better in that sense. But even I was playing Rebirth yesterday. Or when did Jake and I play Rebirth? Jake and I played Rebirth for like a game. I think that was yesterday. I don't remember. But I even noticed on that, I was like, holy shit, dude, my frames on Rebirth, I swear, used to be 50 to 75 higher on average. It was so weird. I wasn't streaming, I wasn't doing anything. I was like, what the hell is going on with this game, man? Like every single update just screws this shit up. I just don't get it. So that's just been terrible since the beginning. It was better at the beginning actually than it is now. It's like one patch will drop your frame rate by 30, the next one will raise it by 5. The fact that like a lot of the people like Freethy Tweaks and whatnot are still saying the best Warzone driver is one from literally, I think November of 2020 is still the most optimized one for the game, just goes to show you what a disaster. What a disaster this game is. Every single time they put out a patch, it just kills your frame rate. It's really bad. So I think they'll solve these issues with Caldera. I'm hoping. I'm hoping it'll at least be more like Rebirth, because you also got to think they have to keep these the previous gen consoles in mind. Those guys all want field of view slider. Raven has said they've been working on it, and it's something they're trying to do. So if they want an Xbox from 2013 to be able to play a full Warzone match with a field of view slider, they're going to need to have some major performance increases on this map. So I think they'll solve that, hopefully. As long as it's better than Verdansk, I'll be fine with it. It's just very annoying. Just shouldn't be happening. Yeah, your GPU doesn't matter in this game.
Which is just outrageous, but it really doesn't. It's so cringe. Next point. I'm actually saving this one for last. So next point. Let's see. Yeah, Tanner, what are your thoughts here? I think we kind of touched on this, but if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, we're pretty much try to cover this. Just one of the things that's really bad is any building that's probably higher than 3 stories or higher, actually, should have a ladder or a zip on the outside of it. Almost all of them. Like we just been talking about with Promenade. That would solve every issue of Prom East, pretty much. Every single issue. Because people would be less likely to camp and play that way when they know people can get up to that roof other ways. So that was one of the worst parts of this map. And isn't really a fault of the map itself. It's a fault of the way they designed some of these buildings on the map. Because for the most part, it's not an issue, but there's still a lot of buildings that could have needed this, and it would have made the game flow better, would have made people move their characters a little bit more, wouldn't have been so ratty, etc.
Yeah, one of my original, and even until pretty recently, contentions about Verdansk was that it has too many buildings. But Tanner made a really good argument pretty recently about how he and Jake died on the edge of the map once to like shit cans. I think it was north of Millie. And he was like, if they were instead in a building, we would have won. And I was like, because there's like more outplay potential there. That was an interesting argument. It kind of got me thinking. I don't know if Verdansk has too many buildings. I think it has instead too many dog shit buildings. I think that is more appropriately what my criticism should be and what is wrong with Verdansk. It's not so much the density of buildings, it's that too many of the buildings are too good. They are too defensible, I should say. Like the little houses that we were talking about that we like, you know, the those 2-story things where there's a lot of entryways, exit ways, they're good, they're worth being in, but they're not overpowered. These are fine. These are great. But then you have so many buildings that are not that way. Most buildings in downtown. Every building in Prom East. Factory. So many others. It's hard to, I don't know. I don't even think they're like wedded to POIs so much as just they're everywhere. I mean buildings that are just impossible to take. And they're too tall. Also, yeah, that is, I think, more what my issue is, because if these buildings were designed better, if they had more access points, more rappels, they were not as tall, or there weren't as many of them that were as tall, I think it would be a lot better. I think it would be fine. But the fact that you have Prom East, I mean, that is emblematic of what my issue is with the buildings on this map. They're just too good. They're too good if you're in them. And it doesn't take skill to race to the roof of a Prom East apartment building. And then you just win if you're there. Like, it should be, you should be able to fight over the building, like the 2-story buildings, those little houses that we were talking about. Then it's not a race to the building. You could be in the building or not, but the better team is going to win. So that's more my issue with the buildings in this game. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I agree with all that. Yeah. Yeah, I really don't think either that it's necessarily the amount of buildings. You're right. It's just certain buildings really shit. Because as we talked about with the pros, like those little houses and shit are fantastic buildings to fight in. So that the map could be absolutely covered in those. And I don't think I would mind because they're fun to fight in. They're not like easy to hold power positions. There's a ton of outplay potential. You see crazy clips all the time of people doing nutty things in those buildings. I mean, you know, people like Huskers 1v4ing a team in those buildings by just going in and out of the windows and doors. And they're just very interesting to fight in. So,
yep,
it is definitely. I've come to realize it's not the amount of buildings; it's the type of buildings that are in certain areas of the map make areas really, really bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like even something else I just thought of is at Ground War by Airport. We like fighting in those buildings because they're like the buildings at Salt and they're metal. And you can get on the roof, but there's easy access to the roof. You can hear where people are coming from.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
That's our favorite location. It's probably because it's basically a hot drop version of Salt, by the way. And those are great buildings right there as well.
True.
That was just a random thought I had, but
it is like the same building.
Yeah,
I think it literally is the same building. Yeah,
they're like exactly the same. But yeah, so more good buildings. Give me more good buildings on Caldera, and I'll be fine with it. And that's kind of what it's looking like from the screenshots we've seen so far. So I'm very excited to see all that.
Agreed. And then last and most,
smile.
Not least, but most, by far and away, the single worst part of Warzone, Verdansk, and indeed Modern Warfare 2019 Game of the Year Edition. One of the many things that makes this the worst contemporary Call of Duty is, and it'll come as no surprise to anyone who's ever listened to another episode, dog shit visibility.
Yeah.
The worst visibility. For so many reasons. It is impossible to see people in this game. The operator skins are too dark. The map is too dark. There's a weird fucking haze that just permeates the entire map. There's a sun glare also, which is not fun or exciting to play against. The visibility, and I'm not going to belabor this point very much because I've talked so much about how bad the visibility is in this game, but the amount of times you can die in Warzone to someone who's on your screen but you just don't see them is a crime. It is a crime to make a video game a first-person shooter where someone can be in front of you and you don't see them. That should never happen. That should almost never happen. And it can just happen so many times on this dog shit map that has dog shit visibility. It is what makes Verdansk so much worse than it could be. If I could see people very clearly, like in Black Ops 4, I would like this. I would like this map, this game, doing this podcast so much goddamn more, but it just sours me so many times how bad the visibility is. Yeah. I will add, by the way, that when I switched to 1440, it did help a lot.
Yeah, it helped a ton.
Because now that I think about it, I've been plagued by this problem less often since getting on 1440. I recommend you guys do the same, but it still doesn't make it good. The visibility is still awful. And also, not only from a functional point of view, but from an aesthetic point of view, It looks terrible. I mean, the map is just brown. It's different shades of brown. There aren't colors. Everything's brown. Shades of brown. They didn't use a color palette. They used a color and then like increased or decreased like saturation slightly. That's it. The whole map is brown. That's another part of the reason the visibility is dog shit. And also it makes the map just unappealing to look at with your eyeballs. Unlike, for example, the screenshots we've seen thus far of Caldera. Looks nice. There are different colors. I've seen at least 2. It's more than Verdansk.
Yeah.
And they're vibrant and they pop. And that's, it just makes it more fun to play from, again, an aesthetic point of view. But it's probably also going to help with the visibility a lot. I'm hoping. We'll see. I'm not certain about that. But the visibility on Verdansk is the worst.
Yeah. You can tell from looking even like at screenshots. Like you can tell that Caldera is going to look a lot better because you look at Verdansk now, and even in the game screenshots that have been there since the very beginning, it looks like there's no color. Like you can just tell there's no color. Caldera looks like it's going to be more similar to Rebirth, which is a fantastic thing. A lot more color than Rebirth, really, actually. But yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shockingly, surprisingly, no idea how it happened. When they did the 1984 update for Verdansk, the visibility got way worse. When we thought it wasn't possible to get worse, Smile XD. Sun glare, thick haze across the entire map. Beforehand, the game looked like shit, but NVIDIA filters helped a lot. Post 84 update, the game looks even worse. NVIDIA filters helped even less. So everything just got worse. There was that one dev that was like, oh, Smile, you guys don't like the glare? I'll turn it down tomorrow. And then the guy got fired the next day and deleted all of his tweets. So, if this map had Verdansk or Rebirth visibility, like post 84, when Rebirth got that crazy good lighting change, this would have been fantastic. It would have made the whole gameplay so much better, I think.
And we were hoping for that too.
I don't know how they didn't do it. Is it not crazy to think a lighting change in the sky would have been an easy thing to do? I don't get it.
It's
I really
weird
don't.
because they did it for Rebirth. They didn't mention it ever.
Didn't say a goddamn word. Yeah.
And that was like one of the best changes they've ever made to their game.
Yeah, it
really
really was.
It was so good. Yeah. And we were hoping they added it to Verdansk, so they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah. So we've talked enough about this since the podcast started. Visibility on Verdansk is terrible. It always has been. And hey, it always was. For a year and 7 months, it was dog shit. They never figured it out.
It was never good.
Never figured it out. So Caldera already looks like it's in a better spot for that. So terrible feature of Verdansk right there.
Yeah, the worst, literally. So overall impressions here. When we talk about moving to Caldera, and this isn't exactly related to the episode, but I think it's worth mentioning quickly. I think Caldera is going to address a lot of the cons, a lot of the things we don't like about Verdansk. So the buildings is one. The buildings do not look like they're going to be as toxic as they are in Verdansk. That's really good. The visibility, we'll see. I think the visibility is going to be better than Verdansk. At the very least, it's going to look better.
Yeah.
That I think we already can guarantee. Like it'll be more pleasing to look at. The visibility itself, from a pragmatic standpoint, I think will also probably be better. That is not 100% true, though. It might be just as bad, but I don't think it will be. I would bet it's going to be better. How much better? I don't know. But either way, those are two good things. Performance, no idea. I can't say anything about the performance. Collision, climbing shit. That's something I'm really worried about because there is a lot of altitude changes on this map.
Yep.
And they are steep. So I am hoping we don't run into the indestructible sapling and pebble collision problem as often on this map, because it would be worse to happen on this map on Caldera than it was in Verdansk. Map changes, I don't know. And then a lot of the other things, it's kind of like we're going to have to play and wait and see. But Caldera does seem to be shaping up to address many of the very large issues that Verdansk had. But there are still a lot of questions that we simply will not know the answer to until we play it. What do you think about Caldera? Will it address many of the issues? Will it carry over any of the good things from Verdansk?
I think it will. So, it looks like most of the tall buildings are going away. A lot of smaller houses and shacks from what it sees. The map's going to play totally different. It's going to feel like a different game for a while. It'll be, people's game sense and everything will have to change. It's like even with most of the big POIs being on the edge of the map, it's going to be very interesting to see how this stuff plays out. How the circle pulls end. It's going to be weird. We're going to figure that out as we go. Hopefully half of the circle when the game starts isn't in the ocean, and then we have to swim out, right? And we have to sit in the ocean. Hey, those Molotovs will come in handy, right? Where you can throw and they turn into a smoke grenade. Oh man, that'll be super clutch, right? Smile.
Yeah. Smile.
But yeah, so I think they're gonna fix most of the issues. Visibility, I don't know, but that's I think the bigger issue for me with Verdansk. That's not even really the say visibility. It's just how dull and horrible the colors are. It's like yesterday I was having frame rate issues when I was streaming. So I turned off my filters for 5 seconds. We were in downtown on a roof and I looked around and I was like, I don't fucking get how anyone plays without filters on. It is the most boring, dull, depressing looking map I have ever seen in a video game. I don't know how anyone does it. And it's like, filters don't necessarily make your visibility better, it just makes the map look better and more pleasing, which is a big plus for me. So I think they'll solve a lot of the core issues with it. They know the issues people have with the map, I think, and it's easier to make a whole new one and fix those issues rather than change all of the issues on the old map. It's like they weren't ever just going to remove downtown. They weren't going to remove Promenade,
exactly.
Stuff like that. So to a certain extent, they're only going to do so much, and that's to be expected. So I think they'll solve most of my issues. God, the color palette just looks fantastic. I'm so excited for that. All of you listening, go on Google right now. Look at Google Warzone screenshot. Look at all of the colors, and look at Caldera screenshots. There's green, there's blue. It's not a haze of brown and dark gray. So I think it'll solve most of the issues. And, ultimately, I don't think Verdansk was a bad map. We didn't have anything to compare it to. So if we had Verdansk and Caldera at the same time, my opinions would be a lot different. I'm sure you can compare the two. But since we've only had one map, all in all, I think it was a pretty good Battle Royale map. Just, some areas in the buildings were really toxic, but it also had a lot of great areas to fight in. So I think, for the most part, it was well designed when you look at other games, again, PUBG, H1Z. I don't think their maps were very well designed. And that's, I think, been the biggest things for Warzone as to why it's so popular. And probably we don't even really realize it is partly because of the map and people. You don't see a lot of negative talk on the map. It's more just you don't see anything. So that's usually positive when it comes to online stuff. If you don't see anyone talking about it, then it's not an issue.
Exactly, yes. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah, so, I'm excited. I had a good time in Verdansk. I think it was a good map. I'm not going to take it for granted and say it was just a dog shit trash map, and I can't wait for the next one because I think it was fine for the most part. But I'm excited for a change of pace. It's been way too long on one map. I'm ready for another one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good the map was. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. This episode kind of changed my mind. The more I think about it, Verdansk wasn't terrible. I've said that many times. But I'm actually doing this episode kind of sort of changed my mind, actually. Because, everything we just talked about. So, overall impression of Verdansk, pretty good. Could have been a lot worse. The visibility was terrible, and that's inexcusable, but we've talked about that so many times. And that's even that. I don't know if that's so much the map as it is the game, because the visibility and everywhere in Modern Warfare is bad except Rebirth Island. That's the only map that has good visibility. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know if you can say that's Verdansk's fault as much as it is just the client's fault. But the toxic buildings I think is the worst part of the map for me. But everything else is actually it's pretty okay. It's functional. It works. It was fun. It was fine. I'm not going to miss it. I certainly didn't love Verdansk. I don't feel strongly about it. It doesn't make me emotional.
I'm
I
crying,
won't be.
dude.
I won't piss, shit, fart, cry, sneeze, vomit, cum, and cough all over myself when it goes away forever. I don't care. I will experience probably no. I'll eventually think nostalgically about Verdansk, I'm sure, but
yeah.
I'll be wrong too. Because the map is fine. It's fine. I mean, you know, it had some good parts. That's the thing. It's like, I've changed my mind about how many things were, you know, terrible maybe about Verdansk. But I haven't changed my mind that there's anything super great about the map either. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd maybe have to think about it more, but
I think it's harder to design battle royale maps than we realize.
exactly. Yeah, I think
it
that's
really
the
is
thing.
a difficult task.
Because, like, I think of, like, firing range. Like, I love that map. It's so fun. It's so good. And there are so many, like, parts of it that I, like, am, like, excited for and happy and enthusiastic about. Verdansk, I don't have that feeling about anything. But that's probably says less about Verdansk, and it says more about the fact that it's just a giant battle royale map. And, of course, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, overall, it's fine. I'm ready to say goodbye. I don't care. Fuck it. I'm done. I'm over it. Even if this was the best map ever, the best BR map on Earth, I would still be over it. It's been 2 years. Give me a new one now.
Exactly.
Stop.
Exactly.
You know, so that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, overall, I'm ready to send it the fuck off and see ya.
F's in the chat for Verdansk.
F's in the chat, but let's get Caldera now, and I wish we were playing it right now. So anyways, boys and girls, that is it. Let us know your thoughts in the Discord. Join the fucking Discord. The links are in the description or in the show notes. And if you wanted to support the show, patreon.com/thedropshot is the best way to do so. We do bonus episodes, 5 every month. More than that soon. Also, we do gameplay breakdowns. We do weekly hangouts. We do much more as well. See the website for details, patreon.com/thedropshot. It's the best way for you because that's where we offer all of our bonus content. And it's the best for us because that's where we get the most bang for your buck. So if you want to waste some money, do it there. We got a donation link. We got all kinds of links, really. Thedropshot.com. You can find links to everything there. That is your home for everything related to this podcast. Patreon, the YouTube, the donation link, the merch store, all of it's there. And the merch store is still up. We are still selling things. We are trying to liquidate the warehouse. So get some merch for you Damascus patrons. You have a discount code you could use. You shouldn't, but you could. And that is that. So other than that, boys and girls, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember, stay humble.
Have a great afternoon, actually. Stay humble.